Welcome back. You ever heard of death cafes? They're popping up around the world to give people a space to talk openly about mortality and end-of-life issues. And today there's one getting started right here in the Twin Cities. Jessica Hart has more on the concept and the conversations that they're meant to foster.
In a place where people rest, there's always someone who cares.
Grief kind of comes in waves.
Waves that feel impossible to breach.
There are other care centers, but there's nothing to this scale.
So when someone comes to the Cremation Society of Minnesota,
So this is our crematory. It gets really hot, so we have some fans running, and then our machines are pretty loud.
they lead with their heart.
And we want to make sure it's great care.
Allison Hens, a funeral director, knows people need space to breathe.
We want everybody to feel like you're supported and taken care of at the worst possible time in your life.
And she knows they need a space to talk.
I just wanted to help people.
So on June 25th, at First Memorial Funeral Center,
I've been reading about death cafes.
she's hosting a Cremation Society of Minnesota First.
Death cafe is just a safe space for everybody to talk about death, have questions, share or not share, just maybe get comfortable with the space.
Allison knows talking about death is uncomfortable.
It's scary. Nobody knows what happens. And I think the finality of things can be really scary.
She says she hopes to normalize it through conversation where people can talk about anything relating to death, including their own mortality.
I think sometimes people think, I don't want to weigh down my family members or my friends with my sadness. I think it is easier for people to share those feelings with other people who might be in the same space.
Feeling she hopes to ease through compassionate, caring conversations.
A heavier question, I think, would be, what about death scares you most?
Conversations had before or after you say goodbye.
This is where families can come in and have some time with their loved one prior to cremation.
Because for Allison, care starts before death.
I hope that people feel a sense of comfort, and I hope we get to do this again.
In Minneapolis, Jessica Hart, KARE 11 News.
The first death cafe is full, but the Cremation Society of Minnesota is planning a second one on July 28th. If the first two go well, they hope to schedule more in the fall. And if you'd like to reserve a spot for the next one, head over to our website. It's over at kare11.com. We are on the last big day of competition for the Special Olympics here in Minnesota. The Special Olympics got their start way back in 1968 with a famous American family at the helm. Morgan sat down with the chairman of the organization about how they're going strong after nearly 60 years.
A spotlight shining on the athletes. But the story began long before they took the stage. 7 rows back, a man whose belief in them predates the first Special Olympics.
I think my first experience as a unified partner was when I was 3 years old and my mom started a summer camp.
Author, educator, husband, and father, and chairman of the Special Olympics, Tim Shriver has spent most of his life advancing the movement that his mother, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, founded. The sister of President John F. Kennedy was motivated by her older sister, Rosemary.
She grew up in the 30s and 40s in the United States when it was almost embarrassing to have a child with an intellectual challenge. And so she fought really her whole life, not to change her sister Rosemary, but to change the country for her sister Rosemary.
Where did your mother's courage come from, you think, when she stepped up and did that?
She developed a pretty tough skin. She was around a lot of brothers who were tough. She got tough.
Tim has carried on her legacy along with his siblings, growing the Special Olympics into one of the largest celebrations of inclusion in the world. It first came to Minnesota in 1991, and it wasn't a tough sell to get them to come back.
We knew that Minnesota had that sense of welcome. We knew that Minnesota had this warmth. So when Minnesota was offering to bid, I was like, I hope nobody else bids because they're going to win.
Then this winter, an unprecedented level of immigration enforcement thrust Minnesota into the national spotlight.
When you heard about everything happening, knowing that you were coming here in the games, did this feel more important to have it in Minneapolis?
I got a lot of phone calls. Are you still going to have the games? Things are tense there now. Maybe the time's not right. I said, no, the time is exactly right. In the Special Olympics movement, we don't discourage people from expressing their principles, but when the wounds come, and the pain comes, and the struggle comes, we also remind people that there's hope.
When you're talking about inclusion, what do you think America needs most right now?
There's no question in my mind, Americans need to treat each other with dignity. The Special Olympics movement brings to life a simple principle that when you treat another human being with dignity, you unleash the best in them and you unleash the best in yourself.
A legacy measured not in medals, but in belonging. Morgan Wolf, KARE 11 News.
All right, pause what you're doing and take a look at your screen. Cat lovers united in South Minneapolis last night for the 9th annual Wedge Live Cat Tour. Hundreds of people walked around the Lowry Hill East neighborhood to admire cats in windows, on porches, in strollers. Photojournalist Jenny Teray takes us there.
Good boy.
I love the Cats of the Wedge Tour. It is so great. The whole neighborhood focus and walking around.
This is my youngest cat, Douglas. We have fostered over 70 cats, and we foster failed this one because how can you not? Look at him. He's training to be in nursing homes, so he's going to help like the older people just have some animal time.
It's a really important thing to have events like this in the community where we can, spend time together and celebrate something we all love. Bisquick is super adventurous, super social. Bonsai, it takes her a little bit longer to warm up.
The community is great, and if you don't know what to talk about, just talk about cats.
She likes to cuddle, loves boxes. She likes to play fetch, so we have like a little hair tie on her fishing pole and we'll cast it out for her.
This is Orlando. Feel free to pet him. This is his 3rd year for the Cats of the Wedge Tour.
Yes, of course you can. He's super soft.
And it's just one of these moments of joy that we need right now, that everyone needs.
Darn right, cats in a stroller, bringing community together. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.